So last week, this was one of the demos from last week, sort of watercolours, trees, winter version and a summer version. I think probably the winter version probably just wants to be a bit darker at the top. And I thought I'd do something on foliage, because some of you brought plants in, which is great. We've got some nice plants, that's good. And if anybody wants to borrow this one, you can afterwards. And I was really thinking, sometimes within a landscape you'll have foliage in the foreground, and you do need to sort of define it a little bit, or in a bit more detail than you might have something in the distance. So I thought we'd have a go at that. So with this one, I thought I'd try using acrylics, but use them a little bit more like watercolours, which some people do. I had a go at this on Tuesday. To be honest, I found it quite tricky. So that was the version on Tuesday, a slightly different plant. And it doesn't really behave like watercolours particularly, so you have to be aware of that. So what I've done here is I've just started sort of in the middle of the plant, and I find when I'm drawing things like plants, it's either best, I find it easier to either start at the top and work down, or in the middle and work out through the shapes. So I've started with this leaf here, and that's probably enough in, so I'll just maybe add one more in here, just over there. Sometimes actually just trying to get the shape of the middle of the stem, the vein, the middle vein, sometimes that can be helpful. Which comes to here, and then just follow that and shape out. And this one, just seeing the edge of that, and then that tucks in behind there. Okay. And then I really experimented with a couple of approaches. So one way might be to just almost like paint through the form and keep that transparent, and then paint a more opaque background. Or you could, fill in each leaf. So I'll perhaps do a little bit of both versions. So mix up some nice greens. So with the leaves, some of them the light is reflecting off them. So let's have a look. So for instance, this one here has got light reflecting off of it, whereas this one through here, it's almost like sort of transparent, and almost the light's behind it, I'm seeing through it. So that is a lot more yellowy. So I'm using some yellow and just a tiny bit of blue. Whoops, too much blue. Go back to the yellow. So in the first instance, I want to keep it a bit lighter like a watercolour. So a yellowy sort of mix. I'm just going to thin that down a little bit. Not water. To keep the paint fairly transparent. And in this case, I'm just using soft sort of nylon brushes. These are actually the watercolour ones, but you get very similar ones for acrylic. And really trying to get that in as fewer brush marks as I can. I'm painting on paper, so it really absorbs the moisture very quickly, so it'll kind of hold that brush mark. So if it's a boring looking brush mark, it's going to have to be sort of painted over another coat. So that could be that one. And then the other leaves are a lot darker to start with. And actually reflecting, I'm trying to avoid using white, so let's make them a bit bluer. So really painting the highlights first. It's like a bluish highlight here. And in here, almost white really. Just sort of make it white. Hiya! And see what I'm painting. Yeah, that one there. A little bit on this one here. This one is quite a bit darker, so I'll leave that one there. This one's actually red. So I'm going to go back to my green mix, and the mix I've got is I'm going to add a little bit of brown to it because it's a little bit too bluey. So that's a nice sort of mix. Just trying to sort of pop that down even sort of redder on the edges. This section here, it's probably the red lamps that it's reflecting red in there. So it's just trying to see some of those colours in there, but really trying to keep it fairly transparent. Across between the watercolours and the acrylics. And these ones are quite a strong. And this roundish brush works quite nicely with this, just following the forms of the leaves themselves. Again. A bit more blue. You're just trying to see the whole range of colours within the greens, sort of some a bit more bluey. I'm just going to dampen that. That's probably one thing that probably is possibly an advantage here is once you've got it washed down, being acrylics, it should stay put once it's dry, and then you could then layer more washes over the top without lifting up what's underneath. So that could be an advantage to this way of working. And keeping that bit quite light. And this bit is, again, another sort of green, kind of more transparent yellowy green. So yeah, to be honest, quite tricky, a bit more like watercolours. Might be worth just doing a few leaf studies to start with before going into a whole plant. So, okay. So this be the last week on this particular project, the trees and foliage project. And then next week, or next month, starting next week in March, I think it's a 4-week month, I'm thinking, well, what I will be doing is a very basic watercolour course. So for anybody who wants like a refresher or wants a, the absolute basics of watercolours. I know some of you are really good at watercolours, and then some people it's probably quite new to you. So if you want to do that, that's what we're doing. You don't have to do that. Carry on with the oils and acrylics and the other mediums if you prefer to do that. Oh, the other thing I was going to say about this is what you could also do is use this as an underpainting or an underdrawing, underpainting really, and then work some pastels over the top, which is something I've done here. So it could be like, use that as your sort of a bit of colour that you can have sort of shine through the pastels. Pastels I find quite hard to get the naturalistic colours, and then acrylics are really hard to blend, so it might be quite nice to combine the two. You might get the best of both worlds. Right.